Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the garden. What a glorious day it is today. And we are going to be going through an update on this front garden transformation to show you exactly where we're up to, what exciting things have just happened, and what you can expect coming up real soon. Like I said, it is a glorious day today. I have my coffee in hands, a little bit of a self-promotion. Look at this is terrible. They sent me a free one with my business card update, but drinking out of my own cup. But we are going to be talking about our garden today. Look at the fabulous transformation this mulch has made. Recently, I finally got my delivery of forest mulch. The wonderful people from Warner Garden Center came here. They dumped the whole lot on the front lawn, unfortunately a little bit further away than I would have liked. It was a little bit still wet and nice and broken down, so we had to both get in there with the shovels and the rakes and move it around and try and pull it out of the truck. But eventually we had a nice pile of about 3 cubic meters of forest mulch. Now, why did I choose to go with this particular mulch? There's a few reasons. The first is the fact that it is forest mulch. This means that it is a diverse range of trees and plants and things that they turned into mulch that we are now using. There's diversity that we're bringing into the garden in different types of wood chip. So you can see, if I bring some of this up from here, there is plenty of different types of material, and you can see it is somewhat broken down already, which is another part of the fabulous fact that it is aged forest mulch. So we've got an aged material that is completely somewhat broken down into finer pieces, and it's not big chunks of wood. This also makes it much nicer to be under my feet. You can see this top layer is kind of dried out, but if we come down underneath, you can see all the different smaller particles and the fact that it's not quite as sharp as some of these big bits that we found in the original forest mulch that was under here. Lastly, this mulch is kind of cheap. It's about $30 per cubic meter, and as I said, I got 3 of it, got it delivered. I've only used maybe half of the pile on this whole area already, and I've managed to cover all of this all the way around to my path. I'm looking directly in the sun again. All of my pathways around, and I've filled everything. I'm going to go through and fill the greenhouse. I'm going to go and top up some of the other beds around the house, but we definitely have plenty of forest mulch. The mulch was delivered, and then obviously that meant barrowing over the mulch and into the garden, which was a fun task, you know, digging it all up, popping it in the barrow, running it around and filling this entire area slowly, bit by bit, filling the pathways, and this area is starting to take shape. Now you can see that we have a beautiful layer of this forest mulch that is surrounding these garden beds. And remember, this is some of the magical compost soil that we created. Unfortunately, it's had 2 days out in relatively warm conditions, but if I dig down a little bit, we can see the quality of this soil. It's nice, it's airy and fluffy, and all of the different parts have broken down wonderfully well. We laid out all of this soil, and obviously under the bridge here, I've got a few products that we're going to talk about in a second. This little bridge is covering a stump. There's an old tree stump under there that we're trying to protect ourselves from, which is going to break down in the soil. But it's also made this nice little feature that we can walk across to get in between the garden beds. It extends out this way a little bit so we can grow some more things around here. You can see all of these different rice hulls still in there, creating some aeration. Remember, these are going to break down and give us some good silica content for our soil. Silica is amazing for plant cell strength. So 1 row all the way down here, and then a second row coming down in front here. We've got pathways down the side and around, and then in here as well. Come down to this. This is a ginger plant that I put in. I've just got this from a friend. Now, this wonderful ginger plant is actually red ginger. Now, red ginger is not part of the edible ginger family and is not usually harvested for its tubers in the same way that we might recognize normal ginger. Red ginger is somewhat of a tropical ornamental. It's got these, you know, beautiful, nice leaves and things, and you can use it for certain medicinal uses. For example, some people like to use it in terms of like a little bit of a salve, or they like to use it as a wrap, so you can wrap leaves around you and things like this. But it's not hugely researched. So right now we're going to classify it as a bit of an ornamental and something that looks pretty and smells pretty and all of that kind of thing. But the reason I chose it, we did get it from a friend. The reason I wanted to put it in is because look at all of this green material that we can now chop and drop and start using as mulch layer on our garden beds. This thick green foliage, this amazingly beautiful foliage, we're going to use and chop and drop, and it's going to keep growing back up, and we're going to start using it as some mulch layer across the top. Of course, we're going to be using some more cover crop today. This is a packet that was opened at a recent garden show event. It's brand new, it's only 150 grams, and we're going to make all of this cover the 2 rows here today. Speaking of cover crop, you can see the cover crop in this area is completely grown up. It looks fabulous. We can see all of the wonderful species that are starting to arrive through in here. Grasses, buckwheat, vetch, snow peas, mustard, all of these wonderful plants that are doing a fabulous job. And even look, if we come right down here, they are still growing out of the top of the pineapple, which is crazy. So we're going to have to make room for these pineapples at some stage soon. The other piece of wonderful news is that the banana is coming back. There's 2 new leaves there. It's been somewhat protected most of the time. I've taken the cover off for now, but all of this cover crop is providing a nice protection, a cover as well. It's kind of wilting in this sun. It's starting to get quite hot in the late part of this winter season. It's starting to warm up already, so you can see a little bit of wilting here in the morning sun. Speaking of which, I'm actually starting to melt out in this morning sun, but it's so nice. I've been a little bit unwell. You can maybe hear it in the nostrils a little bit. I've been a little bit unwell, but getting some of the sunshine and being out in the garden, hands in the soil, is the absolute best thing that you can do for any kind of sickness or flu or anything like that. And it's making me feel a ton better. Oh, look at this. This is new. So something has been going in and digging into my soil. The whole area has been protected, so I can't imagine that it's any of the chickens, although, oh my goodness. What are you doing? You aren't supposed to be in there. How did you get out? Luckily, that garden bed is still only just beginning. We've got things in pots and flowers and herbs and things. But we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about that garden bed on a future episode, because that's something that we're going to be doing after we've fixed this main one here. But let's talk about the jobs today. What are we here to do today? What's the purpose of this next stage of the garden? Remember, we laid down all of the mulch, we laid down the soil in the rows. We can't just leave it out in this cooking sun, especially for too long. I've been running around really busy the last couple of days working, and I've finally managed to get some time this morning to be able to film this for you, to be able to take the next step in the journey, amend this soil. We're going to be adding compost, the Morpheus blend compost from Red Soil Organics. I'm going to be adding 1 bag to both of these rows. Now that's probably too much. You don't need to. Remember, we put it all through. This is nice compost. It's probably got good nutrition in it anyway. But we're fast tracking this area. I'm trying to show you that if you use these techniques, we can fast track it to vitality really, really quickly by adding in inputs that already have wonderful biology. So a couple of things that we're going to be adding in today. Remember, the Shed Organics #1 blend. This is a whole bunch of organic amendments. You don't have to use these. Remember, you don't have to use these. You can use some of these ingredients, not all of them, but more diversity is better. And remember, this is what we do here at the Shed Organics. So I want to promote some of these ingredients. You don't have to buy from me, but you need to have a look into some of these ingredients and the benefits that they can get for you in the garden, especially things like rock dusts, fish, kelp meal, all of these types of things. But we're going to use this. Another leftover bag from the Queensland Garden Show talks. So order of business will be Shed Organics #1 blend. Then we're going to use this bag of Morpheus to spread around the place. Then we're going to mix it in and then sow some seeds, our cover crop blend, which will be amazing. I've got a leftover bale of this organic lucerne mulch from working with a couple of clients in the last few weeks. So we're going to use this as our first layer of mulch before we get anything else. We're obviously using the cover crop to chop and drop and create our mulch, as well as the ginger over here. But this mulch is organic. You can buy it pretty much anywhere. And lucerne is an amazing input for organic gardens. So we're going to use that and spread that lightly across the top. Next up, we're going to be using a couple of products from Mr. Graham Sate's NTS. Love Graham Sate, absolute legend in the game, and he's got some wonderful products. So the NTS BAM, beneficial anaerobic microbes, we're going to be watering in with this, as well as some of the fast fulvic, and I might go and grab some of the humic acid from the back as well, because I've got humic acid to put in as well. Both amazing inputs, and we can talk about these. If you want to go and look up some of these products, you can go and see what Graham does on his YouTube, Nutritech Solutions. Plenty of amazing information. Okay, first step is the Shed Organics #1 blend. Now, a lot of you have been asking me at recent workshops, talks, outings, things like this, what do I do? What do I do with a bag of #1 blend? How do I use it? And now this is a perfect example because we're setting up garden beds. And another question people ask is, how much do I use? Now you've seen these are about 3-meter rows and they're about maybe 50-60 centimeters across. I'm going to be using this whole bag to set up the entire rows. Although, like I said, you don't need it at all, especially if you've got a good quality compost. You can also put this stuff through your compost and it makes a supercharged compost or supercharged worm castings as well. But the reason we're going to go with a fair bit is because we want to set the nutrition up for a long time. We've also got all those beneficial microbes that are going to be going in and breaking down this nutrition slowly and turning it into plant available form, so that our plants can uptake those and enjoy them throughout the season. So if we've got to make this whole bag last these 2 whole rows, we're gonna maybe split it in half roughly, and I'm gonna do a rough sprinkle over the whole thing. Now remember, when you're doing this, it's important to do it nice and low to the ground because it's very dusty, as you can see already. Just from a quick shake, we can see some of the dust coming up. So we've got to be careful. I'm gonna get low to the ground and we're gonna dust or use my hands and spread it all around. That's about half the bag, so I'm going to move on to the next row. All right, now I know I said the whole bag, but I'm going to basically start sprinkling it across the top and just see how we go. I don't want to go too crazy. Oh wow, look at this. Bring this up to the camera. Look how cool this is. It's got mycelial growth already on it in the compost. It's starting to have life within it already, which is crazy cool. This is when you know that there is a good quality compost going on. Look at that. All this mycelium. Wonderful. Beautiful. I think that'll do, only because, remember, this was already inoculated with a lot of this Morpheus compost, and I want to try and make it go a long way. Look, it's just held together by these wonderful mycelial balls. They're just, you can see it spreading throughout the whole thing. Just incredible. Really, really cool. So we're going to break apart some of these so we can get it into finer parts and spread it across the top. Spread it across the top of the row here, and also maybe just give it a little bit of a mix into this top layer. Because remember, we've got no plants growing in here yet. It doesn't really matter that we're going and turning over the soil. Normally, we try and avoid that, don't we? We try and have a no-till, no-dig approach. But because this is still just literally a pile of soil, we can do this. So we're going to mound it up still. Mound it up. Going down the row. Just a little mix into this top layer, breaking up some of the parts, the bigger parts, into smaller parts. There's a rock. Mixing, mixing, mixing. My goodness, it's getting warm already for winter. Another reason why we want to get the cover crop in. Wonderful. You don't really need to see me repeat the process for the second row, but I'm going to do exactly that anyway. Tell you what, it's so hot. I'm already sweating buckets, and I'm wearing this knit in the sun, which is stupid. But here we have it, 2 finished rows. They've been beautifully built up, and you can see the quality of the soil is just looking absolutely fabulous. It's nice, fine particles somewhat, but also some larger ones. Relatively good moisture content, but we need to add some more, and we need to get some things growing in here ASAP. Gosh, it's so bright out here. Next step is to add the cover crop seeds. And one thing that I really love to do with the cover crop seeds is inoculate them with a mycorrhizal fungi mix. Now this is a mycorrhizal and trichoderma mix, which is incredible. And it is from Nourish Me Organics. Remember, I'll link it in the description below, but you can search for these. Other people are doing wonderful things like this, but like I say, I'm not sponsored by any of these people. I just like products, and I'm going to talk about them if I use them. So a little bit of this powder in here, a little tiny bit of this trichoderma and mycorrhizal fungi powder into this bag. So let's open one. And you see all our delicious seeds in there as well. We're going to be doing a little bit into this mix. Let's take out the silica pack because we don't need that in there. A little bit of this into this. Honestly, that was probably about 2 teaspoons if you really want to know. Then I'm going to shake this, close the lid, obviously. Give it a shake. Margarina. And then we have coated seeds inoculated with mycorrhizal fungi, and now I'm inoculated with it as well. So why do we inoculate with mycorrhizal fungi? And that's a good question. And if you haven't heard of that story before, I'll give you a quick rundown. Mycorrhizal fungi are the ones that inhabit the root zone of our plants, and in fact actually live within and without and around the root zone. So if we're putting them right next to the seed, they're going to inoculate that root as soon as it comes out. They're also going to extend that root system all the way out into the soil so that it can reach through and grab a whole bunch of different nutrients, create that mycelial network underneath the ground from the get-go. So they're already inoculated. Very easy way to do it in the seeds. You can just sprinkle it on the garden beds, but we're getting it right to the source straight away. Broadcast method is really simple. We're just going along, sprinkling seeds. I'll probably go down a little bit lower to the ground this time than we did the last ones. We're going to do because of the nature of the different types of seeds in here and the different, I guess, sizes and the way that they come streaming out of the packet, we got to be wary that we don't put all of the same ones out at the same time. So that's why I'm kind of going up and down the rows, and then we'll come back again with the rest of it. But look at this. See, you can see some of the oh, there was quite a lot of snow peas just went out in that one. Back over to the last row. Can we get any more out? Yes, we can. Beautiful, all finished. You can see some of the seeds are just gently sitting in there. So what I'm going to do is come along and just gently move and cover and sort of tap down some of these seeds so there's a bit more soil contact. Remember, I'm not pushing into the ground too much. I'm just sort of tapping, making sure there's a bit of soil contact, and we're going to be watering all this in a second. You can kind of sprinkle over a little bit more compost if you wanted, a little bit more soil, but remember, just tapping them in is going to work quite well. Same over here. You can see all these little seeds now that are sitting in here. Push, tap down, bit of soil contact. Remember, if we're worried about germination here, all we have to do is look at all of this. This was just sitting on top of forest mulch, remember? So if that's anything to go by, I think we'll be absolutely fine right here. Sweating buckets out here. This choice of outfit was probably the worst I could have picked. All right, lucerne mulch. Something to be a little bit concerned about with lucerne mulch is sometimes it's very dry and very fine, so it can create this really thick matted blanket if you go too hard, especially when they're done like this and it's not straw-like, it's more chopped up in fine pieces. But we're going to do a light covering, light sprinkling all over these garden beds, just enough to cover and keep the moisture in and protect from the sunshine, but also enough that when those seeds come through, they're going to burst through that mulch and actually reach up towards the sky. You can already see what I'm talking about here with the different sort of fine material. You can see how it's kind of dusty and really small fine particles, which is great. It's easily broken down, but also, you know, if we layer too much of this, it's so fine that it's going to just create this matted blanket. So the idea would be grab a section like this and just see how I'm kind of shaking it from above and just letting all of the small pieces fall out. This is the kind of idea that we want to go for. We're not trying to just throw down chunks, which I'm somewhat doing by demonstrating. We're just, got to watch out for it as well, coming into your face. Just a light sprinkling all over the soil. You can see it's starting to look like this, and we've got this light sawdusty kind of layer over the top, but it's not this matted thick up layer. Grabbing some more, just shaking and letting it sprinkle all over the garden bed. And again, see, just sprinkling with my hands and allowing it to just drop out nice and light. I'm gonna get 2 hands in here now, start spreading it. Doesn't matter if it goes on the pathways a bit too. This is what one bed should kind of finished bed should look like. It's just look like I've just covered it in a whole bunch of sawdust basically, but it's such a thin layer. I really want to stress that. We haven't gone too far into that bag at all. So it's a really thin layer over the top. And all finished. You can see it kind of looks, looks nice actually. It smells like a bit of a horse barn here because horses love lucerne, but this is exactly what you want it to look like. Now, this is super dry, very, very dry, and a very, very hot day. So we are going to be watering this in now with the microbes. We might put a little bit of liquid fish in there as well, just for some instant food, and then obviously the fulvic acid and the humic acid. We're going to do one solution into this 9-liter watering can. I'm not going to go too much into the feeding. We can talk about nutrition and things like this and soil chemistry and all of that a little bit later, but I'm going to give you a little tiny rundown on each of the products, why I'm using them today, and we're going to fill up this 9-liter watering can, and that is going to use for both of these beds. I'm then going to grab the hose and just water in all of these seeds nice and deeply and go from there. So a few products, a few different vendors as well, and I want to highlight the vendors because they're amazing. And again, not sponsored, but I just like to talk about the products, but the reason why we're doing these products, and if people are making these, then why not support them? So the first one is the NTS range. Okay, we spoke a little bit about the Nutrilife BAM. This one is beneficial anaerobic microbes. The microbes are the life force behind our soil. That's why we're trying to put some of them in there. The anaerobic microbes, as opposed to aerobic microbes, play different roles in the soil. So we want to try and get these in there nice and quick at the start and the conception of all of our plant seeds, and we're going to really improve the life in that soil very, very quickly. So that's BAM. Plenty of different uses. Again, go and check out Graham's website if you want to look at all of those. The next two, we've got liquid humus and liquid fulvic, okay? This is fulvic acid and humic acid. These are the 2 natural acids that we really want a lot of in the soil. We're gonna put a little bit of this in. Again, you don't need very much at all. It's so cost effective. The other 2 products we've got here, this one is, you've seen before on the channel. This is the Tidal Wave from Red Soil Organics. It is a fish and kelp fermented biological. And then a big shout out to the legend Cam at Organic Ferments. This is a fermented beetroot, pumpkin, and carrot extract, and fermented plant extract. Again, we're going to be going into using his EM1 product. We're going to make our own fertilizer from the EM1 on another episode coming up on the channel as well. So thank you, Cam. Thank you, Graham. And thank you, Kane from Red Soil Organics. So let's get these into the watering can and start watering. We really don't need much of many of these products, and I'm probably going to be, as I'm free pouring, like we don't, you know, I'm like your friendly bar person that just free pours nice and liberally, but for some of these things like the microbes, they will expand, they will grow out, they will basically multiply and replicate and fill out the area. Something like this, we've got, I'm going to do about 30 mil in here. There are application rates on the back. So for example, it says dilute 50 to 100 mil in 5 liters of water for a soil drench, but we're just doing a little bit less than that because we've already got plenty of nutrition in here to start with. So that's that one. And the BAM, and same with the fish, we're going to do same sort of ratio, about 30 to 40 mil. That's going in there as well. That's a little bit stronger too, this one. This one's nice and potent, our fish and kelp biologicals. Then when it comes to the acids, we really only need a tiny, tiny bit. And what I've got here is a little, you can probably see, little syringe. And this little syringe is specifically for the humic acid, because the humic acid can be quite thick. It's really thick and gloopy. So to get some out like this at the application rate that we need is a little bit easier. For example, you can see, let's do this. See how black and sticky that is? Is it gonna focus? No. Black and sticky, oh, there you go. It's really, really crazy. So this stuff usually is diluted at 1 liter to 100 liters of water. So we're gonna use 3 mil basically in this watering can. Fire it in there, just a little bit. We don't need very much. And if we come and do this regularly, we can top these types of things up nice and easily. Last one is the fulvic acid. This one's easier to pour, but again, we don't need very much at all. Bring up nicely in there. All right, here it is. We've got to be really careful that the end doesn't come off, but we're gonna go just up and down the row. Give some to that. Just sprinkling. We're gonna go up and down the row until all of this is emptied. Okay, that's roughly half. On to the next one. Trying to get somewhat even spread of the actual nutrition. Remember, we're gonna water this in deeply in a second. So as long as we're getting somewhat of a sprinkle over all of this stuff. The bridge doesn't need any. Okay, now to finish off with the hose. I haven't got a proper hose set up out here yet, so I need to bring the hose link round from the front, but a nice saturation, okay? We're aiming to completely saturate the soil all the way through. We want those amendments, we want the compost, we want the mycorrhizal fungi, everything glued in together and have, like we said, soil contact on those seeds with the fungus, with the amendments, with the compost, with everything, all the nice life. Let's clean this bridge off whilst we're here. It's covered in lucerne and compost amendments and things. So clean that off. That's it, nice sprinkle, saturate this whole bed. Gosh, this is exciting. I can't believe we've got the beds in already. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are finished. I have been watering that in for the last sort of 5 to 10 minutes, going around all of the cover crop areas as well. Just giving it a deep watering, like we said, to make sure everything is in contact with everything and glued together. Now, I need to stress again, you do not need all of these products and all of these things. You can make a lot of this stuff yourself at home, or even just focusing on that quality compost will allow you to have a really good start with these rows, and then you can just get something growing in it, and then you're off to the races. But I'm showing you that with all of these techniques, when we're taking the technology of nature, we're looking at what nature is doing, we're looking at the workers that are in the soil, and we're introducing them ourselves, we're fast tracking ourselves to a very healthy soil, you know, with healthy, rich soil, which is full of vitality. So that's the kind of premise behind adding in all of these things and using these techniques. We're trying to fast track everything to where we want it to be. Lastly from me today, if you missed anything, if you have any questions about what we've been doing here, please leave them in the comment section below. I love to hear what you think of these videos and hear any tips and tricks, or even the situations that you have at home and how we can best use these techniques to help you as well. So please reach out. It's so much fun communicating with you all, and I cannot wait to see you on the next video. I'm pumped about this garden transformation, and we're well underway. So time to get some things growing in it, and I'll keep you updated really soon. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you do not miss another video, because that's really, really important. And side note as well, the podcast has been going crazy good. We're up to episode 35, which will be dropping this week, I believe. So if you haven't been a follower of the podcast, go and check it out, The Shared Organic Show. It's all over the YouTube, or it's all over your favorite streaming platform as well. It's just been so good to build an audience of like-minded people that love gardening. So please go and check that out. Leave a like, leave a comment, follow the channel, and I'll see you again really soon. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the sunshine. See you next time.